Imagine a man, 74 years old. He sits in the living room of the house he has owned for 30 years. The same house where his children grew up, where birthdays were celebrated, where arguments were made and forgiven, where the kitchen always smelled like something good. But today, the house is quiet. His children live in other cities now. They have their own lives, their own families, and they should. That is how it is supposed to be. He looks around the room and asks himself quietly, after all of this, what is truly mine? My friends, if you are over 60 or close to it, I suspect that question has found you too. Today, I want to sit with you and offer what the Buddha's teaching has to say about that question, because the answer may surprise you. Why letting go is not losing. We live in a society that teaches us from the very beginning to accumulate knowledge, accumulate money, accumulate status, build a career, build a family, build a legacy. And for most of our lives, that accumulation has a purpose. We are building something. We are needed. We are the one who provides, who protects, who holds things together. But somewhere after 60, and certainly after 70, something begins to shift. The children do not need you in the same way anymore. The career is behind you. The body slows down and reminds you every morning that it has its own agenda. And if you have not been prepared for this, it can feel like loss. It can feel like the world is quietly taking things from you, one by one. But I want to offer you a different way of seeing this. In Pali, the language of the early Buddhist scriptures, there is a phrase that appears again and again in the Buddha's teaching. Sabbe sankhara anicca. All conditioned things are impermanent. Everything that is built can be unbuilt. Everything that is gathered can be scattered. Every role we play, father, mother, provider, professional, every one of these is a sankhara, a constructed thing, held together by conditions. And when the conditions change, the role changes too. This is not a tragedy the Buddha is describing. This is simply the nature of things. I think of a woman I once spoke with. She lives in Tennessee, a grandmother, 71 years old. She came to me with tears in her eyes, and she said, "My son hasn't called in 3 weeks. 3 weeks and not a word." I listened, and then gently I asked her a question. I said, "Are you crying because you miss your son, or because you are afraid you are no longer needed?" She looked at me for a long moment, and then she said very quietly, "Both. Maybe mostly the second one." This is honest. This is very honest, and I respect her for it, because the fear of becoming unnecessary, the fear that our role has expired, this is one of the deepest fears of the later years. But here is what I want you to hear today. The roles we played were never what we truly were. The father, the mother, the provider, these are costumes. Beautiful and meaningful costumes that we wore for a season. But underneath the costume, there is something that was never constructed, something that cannot be unbuilt, something that was never accumulated and therefore cannot be lost. So if the question is, what is truly mine after all these years, then we have to look past the roles, past the house, past the savings account, past even the memories that fade. We have to ask, what remains when everything that can be taken is taken? I want to offer you 3 answers, 3 things that are truly yours, not in a legal sense, not in any earthly sense, but in the deepest sense, the sense that matters most. The first thing that truly belongs to you is your awareness, not your thoughts, not your opinions, not your memories or your plans or your worries. Those come and go, and you know they come and go because you have watched them do so for 70 years. I am talking about something more fundamental than any of that. I am talking about the simple, quiet fact that you are aware. Right now, as you hear these words, there is something in you that is receiving them, something that is here, present, awake, not doing anything in particular, just knowing. That is awareness. and it has been with you since the first moment you opened your eyes in this world. There is a beautiful question that the Buddhist tradition asks. Sit with me for a moment with this question. When you sit quietly in the early morning, before the phone rings, before the day begins, and you hear a bird singing outside the window, who is hearing that? Not your name, not your history, not the role you play in your family. Something much simpler than that. Something that simply receives the sound. That is what I mean by awareness. And here is the remarkable thing about it. No one can take it from you. Your children cannot divide it when you are gone. The bank cannot foreclose on it. Even illness, even the cruelest forms of illness, cannot fully extinguish it. I have sat with people in the final weeks of their lives. I have sat with people whose memories were nearly gone, who could no longer remember the names of their grandchildren. And yet, in that quiet space, when you sat with them in stillness, they were still there. Something was still aware. Something was still present. Alzheimer's can erase the archive. It cannot erase the one who is aware right now in this moment. If you take nothing else from today's talk, take this small practice. Tomorrow morning, before you look at your phone, before you turn on the television, before you begin the machinery of the day, sit for 5 minutes. Just sit and notice, I am here. Not I am a grandfather, not I am a retired teacher, not I am someone whose back hurts. Just I am here. I am aware. That is enough. That is, in fact, everything. Because your grandchildren may forget your name one day. Time will erase many things, but you will never not be aware as long as you breathe. And that awareness, that quiet knowing, is more fundamentally yours than anything your name is on a deed for. The second thing that belongs to you, only to you, is your relationship with what happens to you. Let me be very clear about what I mean, because this is often misunderstood. I am not saying that pain is in your imagination. I am not saying that if you just think positively, the arthritis will go away. The Buddha was remarkably honest about this. He said, life includes dukkha, suffering, unsatisfactoriness, pain. This is not a problem to be fixed. It is a feature of being human. You will know loss. You will know physical discomfort. You will know loneliness and grief and regret. If you are over 60, you already know all of this. I do not need to tell you. But the Buddha also made a distinction, a very important distinction, between pain and suffering. Pain is what happens to you. Suffering is what you do with it. Pain is the aching me. Suffering is the story you tell yourself about the aching me. This is only going to get worse. I am becoming a burden. I am losing my independence. My life is diminishing. The pain may be real and unavoidable. The story is optional. I want to tell you about a man I knew, 78 years old. He was in the final months of his life. Cancer, advanced stage. Every morning, the nurses who came to care for him would say that he greeted them with a genuine smile. Not a performed smile, not a brave face, a real one. One of the nurses asked him, "How do you do this? How are you at peace?" And he said, "I decided a long time ago that whatever happens to this body, my heart does not have to go along for the ride." Now, I am not presenting this man as someone we must all aspire to become. Not everyone arrives at that place. Not everyone should feel pressure to arrive there. But what he had discovered is something the Buddha pointed to in every teaching. Our response to circumstance is itself a kind of action. In Pali, we call this kamma. Every moment we are sowing seeds. The seed of reactivity or the seed of equanimity, the seed of resentment or the seed of acceptance. And no one can plant those seeds for you. If you are living with chronic pain right now, and many of you are, here is a small practice you might try. When the discomfort is present, instead of immediately fighting it or narrating it, try saying to yourself very quietly, "This is here. I am also here. I am not this." 3 sentences, that is all. This is here. You are not pretending it isn't. I am also here. Awareness has not been swallowed by the pain. I am not this. You are the sky. The pain is the weather. No one, not your doctor, not your children, not even time itself, can choose how you meet this moment. That choice is yours alone. That is why it belongs to you, completely, irrevocably, until your very last breath. The third thing that belongs to you, and this one may be the most surprising, is the merit you have cultivated in your life. In Pali, the word is punna. It is often translated as merit, but that translation is a little thin. Punna is something closer to a quality of luminosity in the mind, an energy, a momentum. It is what is accumulated, very quietly, very gradually, every time you act from kindness. Every time you choose generosity over greed. Every time you practice patience when impatience would be easier. Every time you sit in stillness, even for 5 minutes, and train the mind toward clarity. Now, I want to be careful here. I am not speaking about superstition. I am not speaking about earning points with a cosmic bookkeeper. I am speaking about something very practical and very real. The way you have lived leaves a mark. Not on paper, not in a will, but in consciousness itself. Think of it this way. Your house will go to whoever inherits it. Your savings will be distributed. Your car will be sold. Even your photographs will one day be thrown away by people who do not know who is in them. But the quality of how you have lived, the compassion you have offered, the patience you have practiced, the forgiveness you have chosen when resentment would have been so much easier, none of that can be inherited by another person. None of it can be divided or taxed or lost in a market crash. It is yours, woven into the very fabric of your consciousness. I want to share something with you. There was a woman, 82 years old, living in a memory care facility. She could no longer remember her children's names. She could not tell you what year it was or who the president was. But every single time a new resident arrived on her floor, looking lost and frightened, she would get up from her chair, walk over to them, and take their hand. Without being asked, without knowing why exactly, just because. That was punna. That was decades of kindness, of habituated generosity, expressing itself long after the conscious mind had faded. Merit is not stored in memory. It is stored in character. And here is the beautiful thing about this third belonging. You are still accumulating it, right now, today. Every day of your life that remains is not a waiting room. It is not a slow diminishment between who you were and the end. It is time, precious time, in which the seeds you plant are planted in the richest soil. Because you have the wisdom now that you did not have at 30. A simple practice. Each day this week, do one act of kindness that no one will ever know about. Not for recognition, not even for your own sense of virtue. Just quietly offer something. A prayer for someone who has hurt you. $1 to someone who needs it. A moment of genuine attention to someone who is invisible. What you give in kindness travels with your consciousness, further than any inheritance you could leave in a will. That is the third thing that is truly yours. I want to speak now for a moment not about your family, but through you to your family, even if they are not watching this, even if they will never see it. None of what I have said today is about turning away from the people you love. It is not about becoming a solitary figure who needs nothing from no one. It is about becoming more for them, not less. Because there is a paradox at the heart of aging, if we are willing to see it. When we demand that our family fill our loneliness, when we need their phone calls and their visits and their gratitude to feel that our lives still matter, we place a weight on them that love alone cannot carry. But when we are anchored in our own awareness, when we have cultivated some equanimity, some genuine inner peace, we become something extraordinary for the people we love. We become a place they can come home to. Not a place of need, a place of nourishment. Think of an old tree, a great old tree, one that has stood in a field for 100 years. It does not cling to its branches. It does not beg the birds to nest in it. It does not need the wind to tell it is worthy. It simply is. And because it simply is, it gives shade and shelter and beauty without effort, without demand. I think of a woman, 76 years old. Every time her children came to visit, she did not ask, "Why haven't you called more often?" She did not make them account for their absences. Instead, she asked them one question, the same question every time. How is your heart today? Not, how is your career? Not, have you been to church? Not, when am I getting grandchildren? Just, how is your heart? Her children, all 4 of them, have said that question is the thing they will carry with them for the rest of their lives. That is a legacy, not a house, not a savings account, a question asked with genuine love. So, let us come back to the man sitting in the quiet house. He asks, after all of this, what is truly mine? And the teaching says, your awareness, the quiet, unshakable knowing that has been with you since the beginning and will be with you until the end. Your relationship with what happens to you, the freedom always available to meet this moment with something other than reactivity. And the merit you have cultivated, the luminous residue of every kind act, every patient choice, every moment of genuine love you have offered in your years on this earth. These 3 things, no one can divide them, no one can sell them, no one can take them when you leave. This week, I invite you to choose just one of these 3, not all 3, just one, and give it a little attention. Just a few minutes each morning. See what you notice. In the Pali tradition, there is a short blessing, Sabbe Satta Sukhi Hontu. May all beings be happy. You are a being too. You are included in that wish. May you be at peace.